Welcome to the Higher Ed Demand Gen podcast, helping higher education marketing leaders share knowledge about learning, strategies, and tactics that are relevant today. See what you can learn today by listening to one of our episodes.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Higher Ed Demand Gen podcast hosted by Concept 3D. If you like this content, please follow and subscribe to us on your respective podcast platforms. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, please drop us a comment. We love comments. We want to hear what you think about the show. My name is Shiro, and today we're going to be talking about building a content culture around video and also where higher ed advertising falls short, I should say. And for this topic today, I'm super excited to have Philip Smith joining us. Philip is an education consultant and fractional CMO. He's also a writer for the Education Leader Insights and co-hosts the Ed Up Marcom podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Philip.
Hi, Shiro. Thanks for bringing me on. Excited to be here.
It's great to have you. And I do like asking all our guests this as a quick icebreaker. Philip, what do you love about higher ed?
Yeah, I think I love the transformational aspect of it in particular. I think I love how someone can learn and study in a place and then become something different, get a new job, and that can change their whole life, essentially. Undergrad, postgrad, the same. I just find the transformational aspect of higher ed to be kind of magic and life-changing. Like if you do well at higher ed and depending on what course you do, it does change your life, your income, where you live. It changes everything. So I think that's kind of magic about it.
That's great to hear. Thanks for sharing that. And, I'd love to jump into our topic today. So I think the topic today is pretty unique because I don't get to talk about it this specifically often, because usually like most higher ed leaders I talk to hire out for this work. So I love getting into the details and talking specifics. So first topic will be around using video properly. I know we had a prior conversation in our introduction to talk a little bit more about like how higher ed could be really utilizing video more effectively. And so from that, I'd love for you to take it away.
Yeah, fantastic. So video is definitely one of the kind of cornerstones that I've focused on when I've worked with colleges and universities. So video was really effective at communicating messages quickly. Historically, what we've done a lot in the higher ed space is we've done a lot of text, but higher ed is complex. We're trying to give away a lot of information. How is the course delivered? What is the modules in the course? There's a huge amount of information to be given. The result is that on our websites, there's a huge amount of text on the course website pages. And that also comes across sometimes in ads and marketing messages and in emails, just huge amounts of text. Video is a much more effective way of communicating. It's much more effective in terms of your marketing results in your ROI, whether it's on your website or in your ads. There's different types of video as well we can use. So right now in higher ed, if you go to a university website, you're going to find 1-2 videos in the whole website. There should be maybe 50 or 100 videos on your website. That really like that kind of volume. You could have 1 or 2 or 3 videos on every single course website page. A video of the lecturer talking about and explaining what's the content of the course, what he's going to teach you, and familiarize or set themselves with this lecturer. Student testimonials talking about their specific outcomes and experiences during the course. So often we'll find out as well kind of student testimonial videos and websites and higher ed websites where there may be just a compilation and it's the same video. If I'm doing a degree in business or a degree in maybe science, I want to hear from the person who's done that degree, specifically videos for that specific student. So having videos that are specific to the course from that lecturer for that degree about the course content, students talking about their experiences for that course, really specific videos, and just all across the website as well. Video is definitely a big game changer, I think, for higher ed.
Yeah, and what are some of the results you've seen from universities and institutions, like let's say building out more videos for each program or course page?
Yeah, we've done video, I've done video for a lot of different universities, and we've seen 300 to 400% engagement in the videos, 3 or 4x increased ROI in terms of return on ad spends for when they've used video in ads, better conversion rates when they've used video on the course landing pages on the websites. just using video across that user journey for prospective students really jumps up results. And it's just a very it's not a surprising thing. I think if you go to most people in higher ed, you go, oh, video works better. Oh yeah, of course it does. We know it does. It's just that thing of kind of putting the effort into it, putting the strategy in place, and then creating it on a regular, consistent basis. And because sometimes as well, what you see on a lot of university websites is testimonials, videos, just content that's 3-4 years old, but it needs to be, really this quarter at least, this month. People really react to fresh content, and that's something as well that's missed out on. Oh, this is a testimonial from our class of 2022. Now, I'm here in July 2023. I want to hear from someone who's on the course now or just graduated. Like really fresh testimonials and videos and fresh content is a lot more effective.
Gotcha. And, if I'm thinking in the shoes of someone who has to manage and create those videos, my initial thought is it's a lot of work, a lot harder to build out a video versus copy for a program on a web page, right? Like if I were to compare the two,
Yeah.
how do you justify that time spent, or like how do you maybe build a culture around prioritizing that video first? Because if I'm thinking just the math, let's say I know I'll get a 400% ROI. That's a pretty clear answer, right? But
Yeah, the results
how
are
can
there.
how can I make something that's repeatable there and scalable there? What have you seen from institutions that have been able to
Yeah.
do this successfully?
What I've seen work well is to create essentially, and it's kind of, I suppose, maybe a word phrase, but a content calendar, but maybe a more specific, more advanced content calendar. So the content calendars you see a lot from, I've seen marketing managers, and I with myself was a marketing director at a group of colleges, use is, okay, in August we'll create this content, and in August we'll do photography of all the lecturers. In September we'll do fresh video content. But the trick is getting really specific, I think, with your content strategy. So planning down to each course, each person, really, narrow it down, and then try to bring video in as part of your kind of natural process, and think of where can I get video from students where they're all going to be there at one time, and then often the answer is, okay, the graduation event or this event or this after the exams, or there's certain times where you can slide in your video content. And it works really well where you're able to get the people there in the right place at the right time, and then do it in a repeatable process. And then the struggle really just becomes about the creation of it, which is more about, using the right team internally or externally to create that over and over again.
It's very interesting. So I'm just trying to think within the school year's timeline, like the key points are like around graduation, maybe to implement like some of these recordings or schedule some of these recordings. Like what are the good points in time that you should be looking out for that would make this process easier?
Yeah, there's some interesting times. I think often, you want to try to, often video is done with people who have just graduated. What's great to do is to keep a good relationship, and if you have good alumni networks going on, this is easily done. But to do videos with people who have graduated maybe 1 or 2 years, and get testimonials and content from those people as well, see where they've gone and what happened, because people want to see outcomes. They want to see what happened in their career. Did they, if I do an undergrad, will I get into this master's? If I do this course, will I get this job? People want to see the outcomes. They also want to see video content kind of people who have just finished the course and experienced it. So times like graduations are great for that. But it's about trying to capture the journey of the student from enrolling, doing the course, graduating, and then what happened to them in the future after they did your course. Because again, the long-term outcomes are the real drivers for people. Employment being probably the biggest driver for anyone.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that kind of rolls up to a very high-level topic around experience versus outcomes, like how you're marketing your school. And I think traditionally education, experience, and outcomes. And traditionally, I think, we've really marketed on the education itself, but schools are having to pivot more towards outcomes, which is something they didn't talk about as much before, and experience as well.
Yeah, very important.
Absolutely. Well, that's great. moving on or switching gears a little bit here, sort of related to our previous topic, but you actually manage and oversee a lot of paid media, right?
Yeah.
Directly. And you shared some quick ad opportunities you see with a lot of your clients, right, within higher ed.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned a few opportunities. Do you mind sharing some of those top few?
Yeah, sure. So I suppose I'll just go through kind of some of my core principles or philosophies around doing paid ads for higher ed. So if you're using social media ads, for example, that to me is often really kind of top of funnel. Often the ads used in higher ed spaces, we'll do ads on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and so on. We'll do those ads and be apply now, enroll now. But if they're not, the exception being if they're maybe retargeting or remarketing lists to specific lists of people. But if they're just running ads to cold audiences, just pushing for the applier or enroll now, to me is a big mistake. I think it's much more effective to push for lead collection, and push for them to download a brochure to read about the course, offer a free webinar, free event. They can come and learn about the course and ask questions. Realistically, those kind of ads work when you're selling low ticket courses or low ticket items, for $20. But when we're talking about a course for 5, 10, 20,000, dollars plus, if I'm just seeing this ad for the first time, I'm not just going to jump in and typically spend that kind of money right away. There needs to be more preamble. There needs to be more steps before that, to learn about the course, to speak with people, to engage, and be nurtured to a point before that. In terms of Google Ads, that's where you can do more conversions. Do more. Have your conversion tracking set up, maybe your application form. I find that to be really effective to have your maximized conversions or specific bidding per conversion, and then have the conversion set up to your application form for Google Ads. Typically, Google search ads is what I find to be extremely effective. And that's people that are kind of at the point of purchase, or they're very warm in terms of they're actively researching. So I'm on Google searching for where can I enroll for a business degree? Where can I enroll for this? Is there degrees in Boston? Whatever the query is, but that's someone actively, in search mode looking for a degree. Those people I would sell to, and I would be a bit more front pushing with the sale of the application and lead with that. But when it comes to social media advertising, it's a lot more for me lead focused, nurturing free events, because you're often targeting people who are good potential fits, but they're not people that have maybe been in that search mode already, kind of thinking I want to do this now. So they needed a lot more nurturing. And then it comes to more, where are we sending these people in the landing page, and what are we doing with them, but via email to nurture them. Those are the real pivotal points I find that are often overlooked as well.
Gotcha. And so just kind of to review and summarize what I'm hearing you say is,
Sure.
you see a lot of opportunity, especially for social paid media, to try different offers, invite into free events, give them content offers that aren't just at the brand awareness level, but at least one step deeper, where you can collect some lead information data. And with that, you can use them to nurture them via email or, again, through social media. That's one thing I'm hearing. And then
Yeah.
another thing you're hearing is, like, you can't expect a student to commit to a 30 to 40K a semester school off of one ad. And so,
Yeah.
maybe create some
Yeah.
other offers and engagement points in between that journey. If you're not seeing a lot of results from those more bottom of funnel advertisement options. Is that right?
Yeah, that's really spot
Cool.
on. Like, there's a lot of focus sometimes that goes into the ads, but not a lot of focus goes into where we're sending them, or what do we do with them once we have them, or what do we, how do we capture the information? What are we doing with this email when we have it? And that kind of piece of it is what's really lacking as well. What's really, I think, lacking in terms of paid ads in the higher ed space in particular is urgency. Where there typically isn't a lot of urgency. I've seen it more recently in the past number of months. Huge universities like MIT having special offers and urgency in their ads, but historically it hasn't been a great sector
Right.
for doing that. But again, urgency is really important to try and get people to reply to the email, to book the webinar, to fill in the application form, to get them to take that next step.
Can you explain what urgency is and why it has this effect?
Yeah, so essentially, urgency is something I speak with a lot of education institutions about, and it comes in all different shapes, and it can look very different. It might be a special offer in the course price. It might be a cut-off deadline to enroll or apply. It might be, certain value incentives that are there in place. If they enroll early, then you'll get this additional incentive to enroll or this additional benefit. It could just be showing the places left in the course. Quite often, if you go to an application or course page to apply, it doesn't say how many places there are in the course. It doesn't say how many are left. It just says apply. Okay, I'll do it next month then. If I'm looking at this maybe in July, like we are, it says
Right.
July now, and the course starts in September. Why should I apply? I want to apply, but I'm a little busy this week. I'll do it next month. But if you're telling me that 50% of this course is filled right now, okay, that's different. I'll make it a priority to apply for this course this week. And now we're getting more applications faster and easier, and just that urgency is just important and transparency as well to show people why they should act faster rather than later. Because what can happen later as well is maybe next month I'll do it next year, and then I'm totally, I just don't want to do it anymore, or I'll go to a competitor. I'll book with someone else. I happen to see their ad when I'm scrolling through social media because I waited. A lot can happen if you let prospective students wait, where you want to try and convince them of the value that you're trying to give them with your education, with your courses.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think scarcity is a natural human response in that, when things are scarce, you want them more. And so it makes perfect sense. I have kind of a question more around.
Sure.
So as a consultant and agency co-founder and CMO, like if you're in a higher ed leader, how do you know when going in-house or out of house is the right option?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of ways to answer that question, but I think for me, previously I was a group marketing director for a group of private colleges, and over 5,000 students, a year, big operation, and I had to make that decision all the time. Do I do it internally or externally? For me, if I suppose if I'm in the shoes of a CMO trying to make that decision now, one is I would always look for businesses or agencies, if I am going external, that are results based. So commission and results based are really great ways to look. And I offer that myself, and that I created, I suppose, an agency that was commission based because I wanted an education focused agency that was commission based when I was a marketing director. But look for commission based offers. Look at the price points and the costs. Often it will be more expensive to outsource potentially, but the results are really important. Often what I've advised to do is to have a consultant, used for the strategy, or fractional or someone like that, to use the strategy and to kind of use them sparingly, and then have the team do the legwork and the execution of that, of those ideas. So use the people that are expensive for the strategy, use the team for the execution, and use those experts to educate the team to make what you're doing and they're doing better. I think that's a good way to do it. But for certain things, I think it just makes sense to outsource it. So before you mentioned the content creation, things like video production, for me, should always be outsourced. If you try and do that internally properly, it's extremely difficult because you need a videography team, you need a video editing potential. There's a lot of different steps and parts to that, which can be difficult and expensive to execute. Where those things like that, I think are better outsourced, and leave the rest to be done internally.
Yeah, that makes sense. Making a video once a month, it's going to take you forever because you're not in the regular workflow of things. But if you're someone editing videos and shooting videos every day, you can get things done in a snap.
Exactly.
So that does make sense. Well, great. Philip, it was really great to have you on today. I was wondering where some of our listeners could connect with you to learn more about everything you do in higher ed and ask you any questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So the easiest way to find me is on LinkedIn. I think if you Google Philip Smith, or search for me on LinkedIn, I think I'm the number one Philip Smith there is. No disrespect to the other Philip Smiths, but I've got a following of about 14,000 CEOs and founders of colleges and universities and so on LinkedIn. So that's an easy place to find me. There's also free resources there they can tap into, and they can book a call or send me a message if they want to ask me any questions.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for joining us today. And thank you all for our listeners for tuning in. Make sure to check us out on the next episode. And Philip, I hope you go have a good workout after this because I know you're hitting the gym.
I am. Thanks, Stuart. Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.